Why, hello, everyone, and welcome to Entertainment, Food, and Beverage, formerly known as NAC's webinar series, Innovative Eats, Trends in Menu Development for Entertainment Venues. We've got a great lineup this afternoon. So glad you guys could join us. I wanted to talk about a couple things before we get started. Anybody going to CinemaCon, make sure you join us on Thursday morning at the highly desired 8 a.m. time slot. We are going to do a great presentation. We've got a list of some really heavy hitters. The seminar is called Screen to Scene, Driving Ticket Sales and Boosting Profits with Collectible Concessions and Merchandise. And we've got some great panelists. We've got Robert Bennett. He is Director of F&B Product Strategy for Merchandising at AMC Theaters. We've got David Sedin from Vice President of Cinema Partnerships at Walt Disney Studios. Jeff Wallen, the owner of Golden Link, Matt Willard, Vice President, Head of Business Development at Regal Cinemas, and Andrew Clark, Vice President, Product Development at Snapco on a panel. So it should be very exciting. We're going to hit them with some hard-hitting questions and really get into how these products are made, designed, who decides on what gets done, who decides on who gets the exclusives, how we can get more items into the marketplace, and where we see the trends going in the next few years with these products, because some people are really doing a great job with them. You don't want to miss it, so don't stay up too late on Wednesday night. Be there bright and early Thursday morning. Webinar and housekeeping here. The best way to experience this webinar, if you go into the top right-hand corner, you're going to want to change that to speaker view so that the speaker is on the screen at the time of the presentation. And then as we go into the panel, everything will come on your screen correctly. Throughout today's session, you can use the Q&A, not the chat, but the Q&A function to ask your questions. And we're going to get to those questions on the second part of the presentation. Quick reminder that the expo, the EF&B Expo in San Antonio, registration is open. So Chris is putting some links in the chat, not the Q&A, to click on those links and you can sign up. There'll also be some links in there for golf at CinemaCon. We'd love to have you out on the course for that as well. It's a great time and it's a beautiful course. So today's session, we have a fantastic lineup. First, I'm going to introduce Michael from Procter, and he's going to kick off a presentation today. It's going to last about 20 minutes on Innovative Eats. And then after that, we're going to open this up to a panel discussion. And we've got Dante from Imagine and Marco from Marcus. And we're going to explore, different trends in food and beverage and entertainment venues. Don't forget to use the Q&A feature for questions. And with that said, let's get started and turn it over to Michael.
Thank you, Dan. I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I'm moving over to a little share screen here. So we've got a nice little PowerPoint presentation here. We're going to talk for just a minute. We're going to get a little serious and talk about a little bit of high level on what it looks like to getting that roadmap going for a menu development for a little bit of food and beverage success here. So just a couple of notes as we talk about things. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. This isn't the one size shoe fits all in a path to success. So just please note that although my hope is here is that you can take as much of this away from this as you can, not everything is probably going to be exactly pertinent to you, but I think a lot of this will be. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, I already went too far. All right. So the idea here overall is that you've got a location, you've taken a look, you've done a feasibility study, you know where you're going to be at, you've got your location, you have some of your really good people in place here. You've got an architect if you're building new, you've got an architect if you're building if you're remodeling your location. In general, you've got a good architect, you've got a good contractor, you have some good people in place that can help you really build your vision. we are really looking here at when we start looking at these pieces, we look at a brand identity. We're looking at the planning piece of this. Who are you? Who are you going to be? What are you going to offer? Not just on the F&B side, but in your entire building. I know a lot of our our friends here in this industry, we're beginning to branch out a little bit more. We're offering some different things in our spaces than what we have ever offered before, whether that be an arcade, whether that be a bar, or maybe you're offering duck pin bowling or something to that effect. You're putting in something there that's might have at one point in time been considered a little outside of your comfort zone. So that planning, that design, that all requires a team to put into place here. So there's some pieces on the food and beverage and why it is so unbelievably important. Why it makes such a big difference to not just offer food and beverage, but to offer food and beverage and offer it well. We know that guests will stay longer when you have food and beverage. And we're not talking about just there are three types of concessions, or when we talk about food and beverage, I feel like there's really three types of offerings here. There's that basic concession stand, popcorn, candy, soda. And then we have that expanded concession where you might be offering those nachos. God, everybody loves that Rico's cheese. No, no fooling. We all know that is the good stuff. You might be offering a hot dog. You've got your little container of jalapenos, that type of thing. And then we have really that next level beyond expanded menu, which is the chef-driven type of kitchen here. Now we're cooking food to order. We're making burgers. We're making pizzas. We're putting those things together. We might be offering three or four different types of fries in some instances, but we're really offering a menu here where we're offering salads and things like that. They're a little outside your norm. We call that a chef-driven menu, right? Because we want a chef behind there, making sure that when we're creating this menu, that the tastes behind your menu work. They work for your brand and they work for your location. So we look at an increased revenue. So because we know that they stay longer, they play longer, when they do those things, the longer you stay, the more money you spend. And those are the facts that we know. We know stay as long as you need to, because the longer, more money. We look at differentiating your brand too, and that's unique and themed food offerings, right? And that's saying, look, we can put some signature dishes in there that create memorable experiences that are branded towards not just your restaurant, because your restaurant has to, and I call it a restaurant because that's what you've got. You've got a restaurant inside your building, and it should be viewed that way, by the way. But we look at creating some things that are branded to the restaurant and the restaurant is branded to the building. Your location is a destination. It is where people are going. And that's an important thing to remember. This isn't just one of those things where most of your guests aren't just driving by going, oh, let's just stop there for an hour. No, they're making plans. They're inviting friends. They're coming out to your location because your location is a destination. So think of it in that respect. The guest satisfaction, that's what's going to encourage their repeat visits. That's going to keep them coming back. That's why we talk about making that food and making it well. You'll get that retention. You're also going to get that social interaction, which is what we used to think of just ancillary marketing. Oh, someone takes a picture and shares it on MySpace. That's how old that used to be, right? Or they're putting something out on Facebook. Um, that's real marketing now. Hashtags are a real thing. When your food comes out and it looks fantastic and people are taking pictures of it, no matter how often we were making fun of some of those people as business owners, you want some of those people in your building taking those pictures, tagging your business in those photos. When the food looks good, that can translate into corporate events, family reunions, birthday parties, diverse groups. That's that inside revenue that comes in from your restaurant in the building to drive more dollars to you. So when you're doing it right, when the family of four comes in and they've got their food, they're eating, they're playing, they're having a great time, and then somebody looks and says, "Well, maybe we should be holding our Christmas party here." Or that guy's a realtor and says, maybe I should be, the food is so good here. Maybe I should be waiting for that next big movie to drop, and I want to rent the theater and give those tickets out to all of my customers and my prospective buyers. So it's not just doing it right for the sake of doing it right. It's doing it right for the sake of doing it right because we know that it's going to attract and give you more opportunities down the road with additional customers. So we've talked about that type of service, that basic, that expanded, that chef driven, and really deciding what you want to be. If I'm just ordering in, if I just want to do some pizza and I want to do some hot dogs and maybe I want to do the burger, just that expanded concession, there's nothing wrong with that. That works for you. You can make money with that. You should be doing that. You're like, look, I don't want to have to make salads, or I don't want to have to offer a shrimp cocktail on my menu. Um, I don't need that chef-driven menu. That's fine. Just figure out who you're going to be and what type of service you're going to offer. Are you going to deliver to the seat? Are you going to offer pickup? One of the things that we've seen an explosion with lately is Uber Eats and food delivery. There is an absolute market for you to do those things. People that say, "Hey, I want to watch a movie. I want the popcorn. I don't want to go out." Or I love the nachos. I want to get that, but I don't want to go out. They're doing Uber Eats. They're offering a food pickup area. Um, Order ahead of time on your map, on your app, things like that. So we look at that menu theme, menu branded to the venue theme to define who you are and be different, be that differentiator. Um, if you're going into an FEC space, a family entertainment space, differentiate yourself from most of the big people that are, don't try to replicate a Dave and Buster's or don't try to replicate a main event. Be who you are. So, and your menu offerings in your restaurant will help you to define who you are. So you're going to see some different things when you're putting your menu offerings together, right? We'll talk about what's the difference between fresh and pre-made and start to look at that ingredient cross utilization. If I'm putting lettuce on a burger, can I offer a salad? Is it going to be the same type of lettuce? Might be slightly different prep, but it certainly can make sense for you so that you can get that healthy option in that, let's face it, not too many people are eating salads in a theater in the dark, but certainly there's always that one person who goes, I have to have a salad. You have to put a salad on the menu. And then, of course, they come in and they don't order it. They order the cheeseburger instead because no one's watching them. Making sure that you have the staff on hand and that your space is well designed and the equipment that you have in place can give you those quality menu offerings that you can put that food out in a timely manner. There is no other business I have ever seen. I've never worked at another restaurant that has to put out the volume of food that we do in cinema in the short amount of time and then be able to have to repeat that every time. And it needs to be at a higher level. People expect a high quality of food when they go out now, or else they're stopping at somebody else's restaurant before they make it to your destination. And that's the last thing we want. We want to get them in. We want them to stay long. Remember, always the longer you stay, the more money you spend. So we decide that direction at the start of the building when they're walking through the door. Every business has a theme. Disney's obviously does. Andretti's does. The F&B brand outlets are branded to enhance the theme of the business. So your menu should continue to enforce your theme also. Are you a racetrack? Maybe your restaurant theme is the pit stop. Or if you're bowling centric, you've named your restaurant the Strike Zone. Or if you're an arcade or you're a pinball place, maybe you have the Bumpers restaurant. So, and what do you bring to the table? Get creative with that menu when you're naming your items, you know. If you are in fact a racetrack, maybe you have the monster truck burger or you have the crazy chicken strips. Don't be afraid to get creative with that menu when you're naming things on there. You can call it a monster truck burger, right? And people still know it's a hamburger. You don't want to get too crazy when you're modifying the names on your menu to the point where people are like, well, I don't even know what that is. We can call it crazy chicken strips because it's still chicken strips. We still know what they are. They're still a chicken tender or you know a nugget, so to speak. So you still have that. The other piece is who is coming to dinner? Well, don't get caught off guard. Know who's coming to dinner. So you want to know your target market. Are you marketing your menu? Are you marketing your restaurant? Are you marketing your business towards those? Really, there's those three key demographics, right? There's the young kids, there's the teens, and then there's the adults, and there's some people even break it down even further to that. But what we know there, right, is those teenagers, they don't want to go to the someplace that the young kids are going to. That doesn't work for them. They don't want to be seen in the same space. So you really have to know who are you going to market to. We know that, you know, the adults out there, they're not going to want a dino nugget, right? They're going to they're going to want something else there. They're going to want something a little bit more elevated. You know, that might be that crazy chicken strip, as long as it's not in the shape of a dinosaur, and you still probably could serve it and you'd probably still be all right and still be in good shape as long as it tastes good and it's elevated. Be mindful of the community that surrounds you. Your community will support your menu as long as, and you have to understand where your community is and where it's going to support you. Understand what they're going to want to buy. So as we tend to say, you may not want to set up shop in Chicago and start offering deep dish pizzas. There's some people around there that do it really, really well, right? You might not want to go into Nashville and say, let me start my own chicken sandwich business. Um, so there's things that you can be really good at that your community will support, that they will absolutely come in and it will differentiate you from any of the other restaurants or the competition. You might go into a place where there's a lot of burger joints around you. Burgers probably shouldn't be your specialty then. But understand that it is certainly acceptable to still offer a burger. It absolutely is. You just want to make sure that when you're doing that, right, that we're not going to go ahead and try to corner a market that everybody else has cornered in your area. You'll get lost within that community. We want you to stand out. When we go to a restaurant, I think probably 90% of everybody here has probably been to a particular factory that tends to have about a 25 to 30 page menu. I find that whenever I go there, I probably have to hit the gym prior because then I have to build up my arm strength. It's an arm day just to lift a menu. So we go under that idea of, right, keep it super simple. I will always suggest a one-page menu. I think that if you have a one-page menu, it limits your ingredients, it limits the things that you have to bring into the kitchen. And then really what it tells me is that, look, here's 4 to 6 appetizers or entrees. And out of those 4 or 6 that are on menu, I know I'm going to do those really well. I'm not offering a burrito, a slice of pizza. Um, I'm not offering a spaghetti combo platter of all 3 of those items into one because I'm then inclined when I look at that, I go, well, what you're telling me there is you may not do any one of those really well. You might do all three of them okay, but I would find it hard to believe that you might be able to do a burrito, a slice of pizza, and a plate of spaghetti all really well. So I look at when you're doing that, let's keep it simple. Three desserts, maybe not even three, it might even be two. And you'll supplement that with your add-ons. You're going to market and partner with those people that do Blue Bunny, that do pre-made ice cream so that you can have those also. There's going to be those certain vendors out there that you can partner with that they'll add those extra things in so that you might only be bringing in one dessert that's made on site. The rest of it, you're able to offer them a dessert. Appetizers in that same instance, if I order 3 or 4 appetizers, right? Um, I'm saying that those are the ones that I do well. And we go back to execution. If you execute the menu well, it will sell. If you're going to put out good food, people are going to come back. They're going to buy it again. They're not going to worry about if they went there and it just wasn't that good or it was average. They want to look at that and go, I'm going to come out there, I'm going to execute it well. And when they go back, they're like, oh, that was much better than I expected. We all kind of get that airplane food concept there, right? Where we think that sometimes if we go to the theater, we're not going to get great food. And then when they do, they know I don't have to stop at dinner. You know, and I love to use this one. I don't have to go to Bennigan's and get the same old thing. I know that when I go out to go catch that movie or if I'm going to that entertainment center, there's a menu there for me that I know I'm going to want something on and I know it's going to be good. So we talk about just real quickly here, I like to talk about the bar. Alcohol sales can represent up to 22% of the revenue in those family entertainments in those cinemas. Um, Once again, when they stay longer, it's that second beer, it's that second beverage. And I know that there's this groundswell of people talking about this upcoming generation, they don't drink as much. All the more reason to capture when they do have that drink that they have it at your establishment. That they make sure that if you're going to come out and have a drink and you're going to come to the movies, that you're coming here to do that. There's there's a lot of money in the bar. Even though people are saying, oh, drinking's trending down. Um, Boy, I just went to a place where I just saw a bunch of people and they were drinking all the time. You couldn't be hard pressed to tell me that at that cinema people weren't drinking. You look at enhancing and expanding that menu of what they offer. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get into our panel too. Um, but don't go crazy with specialty drinks. And you don't have to go crazy on the amount of beer that you offer on tap also. Your I We believe that your liquor sales, that's where you're going to be the most profitable. I tend to tell people anywhere between 6 to 8 beers on tap, and you'll capture 95% of what your customers are looking for. If I'm going to go to the cinema and get a beer, oh, I want a Blue Moon. Okay, well, I don't have Blue Moon on tap. Can I offer you this other one? Look, I'm gonna get a beer. Doesn't have to be my brand. I'm gonna say yes. Most likely, if they say, well, can I offer you this one instead? Before they even get out, can I offer you? I'm already going, yeah, I'll take it. It's fine. Menu-driven design. So that's aligning your kitchen and your bar layouts because what we want to do there is as you're putting these things together, if you're remodeling, as you're developing that menu, make sure that your kitchen designer, which, hey, we'd love to be that for you, but if it's not us, you still need to know that, we can't have your cook who's working the fryer have to walk 10 feet over to the freezer to get fries to go load into that fryer. We need to know that your servers, when they're getting a soda, that if they're getting some ice, it's right there at the soda station and they're not having to walk over to get a glass take 3 steps back over to put ice in it and fill it with soda. That's that functional design. The concession stand, we talk about those things all the time. I don't want anybody trying to take any more than 2 steps, really. I don't even want 2 steps, to be honest with you. Sometimes we can't get away from it. That functional design, it's efficient operations. And that those efficient operations don't just pertain to using the time wisely, it's employee retention. So we want to look at that to go, wait, if they're running back and forth and it's inefficient for your employees to get the job done, they're going to be unhappy. You're going to have a high turnover. It's going to take them longer to do things. Your guests are not going to be happy with how long it takes things to get out. So that functional design of how that kitchen works, that's an absolute necessity. Using the right equipment in the right spots for the speed of service always is in the right place. I want a freezer next to the fryer, right? I want an ice bin or an ice machine on top for the soda, like we talk about. I want my bar set up so that way I've got all of my drinks to my left. I've got my soda gun right there. My glass is there with my right because I'm right-handed dominant. Ice it in. I grab my liquor. I grab my soda gun. Everything comes in, and that drink's made quickly and efficiently every time. It's that dedicated, making sure that your design looks the way it's supposed to. It's reducing congestion to make sure people aren't driving and doing double steps into places because that doesn't work well. Don't go it alone. There's a lot of people, especially here within this group that we talk about, especially here at NAC, that says you've got that you've got food purveyors, you've got people like Procter, you've got other people out there, not just people that are trying to sell you something, but people that are right here on this panel that'll give you advice, that will help you in putting some things together, that can tell you some pitfalls and mistakes that they have made so that you don't have to. Get a chef, a F&B manager, a kitchen manager. Make sure that those people are in place when you're doing these things. Make sure that you reach out to your food purveyor, whether that's a Cisco or a US Foods. They have chefs at your disposal. I know for us here as food and beverage designers at Procter, we work with equipment manufacturers all across this country. So we can put you in contact and we can get somebody there so you can get out to a test kitchen, try this equipment, try new recipes, and work to create a partnership so that way when you're rolling out menu items, you're not rolling it out and trying to figure it out by yourself. You don't have to. It takes a village, and you have a village, and we're all here at your disposal to help you out. You just have to ask. So your next stop, as we put it here, that's talking with your food and beverage designer, like we talked about. It's talking about it with your chef, your menu, your food purveyor. So we take a look at that. We look at getting out there, testing those menus. So that way, before you even roll into training, you know what your menu looks like. You know exactly how long it takes things. You're creating recipes. All those things are in place so that when you do get to the point that you're hiring the rest of your staff, they need to know how to understand to calculate food cost, do inventory accurately. Those are things that are critically important to the success of your business. How to calculate liquor cost and do inventory for liquor, and how to calculate how much is left in a bottle and whether you're going to do that based on weight. There's a couple different ways to do that. Get informed. It's your bottom dollar. It's absolutely important. And don't be afraid to change it up. If something's not selling, if something's not working, you've got the data back there to prove it. Let it go. Don't get prideful in your menu. It can be the downfall of all of us is when we get too prideful and saying, hey, we have the best menu. And I used the example of Bennigan's before, talking about a company that never changed their menu. Now they don't have to worry about it because, right, they're not around anymore. So that becomes that next piece. So thank you for sitting in here and enjoying and listening to me talk about menu development. Let's get into the rest of this and let's get some questions going with Marco and Dante. So, Marco, let's focus a little bit on limited time offerings. New movies that are coming out. We've got a great lineup and a really great schedule of movies that are upcoming. When should we be planning on a limited time offering for a movie?
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody today, talking food and beverage. And to your point, Mike, about how soon, I would say as soon as you can. It doesn't matter when the movie comes out, as soon as you can, I think is great. Ideally, you're probably in that 60 to 90 day window in terms of planning out your LTOs. On the beverage side, I was in a meeting this morning and we're already talking about what types of drinks and what sort of marketing campaign we're going to do for movies coming out in July. And here we are on March 6th, right? So, Jurassic World, Fantastic Four, we're already talking about those. And that means we have a lot of stuff already in the can for the movies that are coming out in April, in May, and in June. I don't think it's as easy as, you decide on this is the item that we want to LTO. We're going to create a button for it to sell it on the POS. And then tomorrow it goes on sale, right? There are, at least in our case, there are a lot of other departments. There are a lot of other considerations to take in mind. So it's lining up product with your distributors, to your point about what you talked about earlier. It's making sure that the marketing is focused and knowing what that picture is going to look like, and then creating those marketing materials. It's just vetting the idea in general, sampling it, tasting it, getting the recipe right, and then training your teams too. So a lot needs to happen in that time period from committing to an idea and then executing it. So I think you're probably in that like 60 to 90 day range. Of course, depending on the type of LTO that you're doing.
And I'd like to add on to that a little bit. So for us, it took a while, but we got to the point where, yes, like Marco, we're talking about it 6 months out. By 3 months, I want that idea to be solid on both sides for myself and marketing. So when I'm talking about it, it's with all the different teams that are involved. Marketing is a huge aspect to all of the LTOs we do. I can't sell stuff if marketing's not telling people about it. So that 90-day period of 3 months out, I want the idea finalized there to give them enough time to come up with what they're going to do, to give us enough time to be able to talk to our suppliers to make sure that they have enough time to pull the product. And on the pulling product side, you can do LTOs and without having to pull in a whole pallet of product, which I know might be what your food provider might tell you, like, hey, we're going to have to pull in this. But if you actually talk to your suppliers, a lot of the time, um, these distributors will purchase by the pallet, but you can slip in layers of the pallet for yourself. So if you're a smaller chain or single theater, you might be able to throw a layer on your pallet of something you're already buying. Just talk to your suppliers, connect them with your distributors so that you can get that chain going early enough.
Dan, I know that you're looking at the Q&A part of this,
Yeah,
so
I
I
am.
encourage
So,
anybody, jump in at any time with a question if you have anything. We certainly want participation. We want to be able to answer the questions you have when it comes to this.
well, we've got a question right now on the Q&A. What is that ideal number of LTOs that tie into films? What is too many or too few, and how frequently should you do them?
So,
Um,
Marco, what's the magic number? Is it six?
I don't
I
know.
would say, I mean, it all depends on the capacity of your teams, right? I would say for us, we probably are in the, real big LTO campaigns where we do stuff from scratch and then potentially bring in new items into our kitchens or behind the bar. We're probably 4 to 6 each between food and cocktails. So 4 to 6 food items, 4 to 6 cocktails that we do a year. But again, it just kind of depends on, what movies do you want to focus on and what is the capacity your team and the other teams that support your LTO campaigns as well.
Dante, same question for you. Is there a magic number for you?
I wouldn't say there's a magic number, though. I think it depends on your two sides as well, if you're doing food or beverage. So for beverage, we do a monthly beverage tied into a specific film per month from our head office. So we have 28 locations in our chain, and then we'll allow the theaters themselves to promote approved beverages by us that are not the main one we're promoting that month. So they might change it weekly for their very localized ones. They all have to come through head office though, so they submit their recipes and we approve them. But then when we go to the food side, it's a little different. So in the winter, we ran well, we're nearing the end of winter now, but we've been running a promotion with a J&J snack foods product, which is a great partner to work with for LTOs. I really love working with J&J, but that's an example of one that we would run longer. Whereas you might have, we had a food one last year that we ran for about a month just for Beetlejuice. We knew it was going to be a big enough movie where we could support just this LTO just for that, and we actually ended up selling out of that stuff quicker than we wanted to, but that's not a bad thing.
Another question on the site: does it make sense to overlap LTOs or really have some space between them?
I would say it does make some sense to give some space. I mean, you want every LTO to kind of stand on its own. That way you can judge the success of it better. I think it could potentially be tough if you have two different LTO campaigns to when the time comes and you're doing the debrief and figuring out whether or not the campaign was successful, did they eat into each other? So my personal preference would be, when I can, to try to run LTOs, give them some breathing room apart from each other.
Yeah, and on our side, we have planned out a certain number of slots on our menu board, on our ad menu boards, so that we never have too many ads at once. Because if you do have too many ads at once, you're just going to get stuff ignored, and then you're going to get stuck with all this product that's supposed to be limited, and now you're bleeding into a time where you didn't want to be selling it, but now you have to because you've committed to that amount of product. So yeah, there's definitely, you have to run a fine line there, but coming up with that plan in advance, I think, is key to that, so that you can follow your own guidelines. Even if you really wanted to run more than one product, you have to follow your guidelines, so you don't get in trouble.
Will you, Marco, will you remind us again really quickly? Were you saying on a food and beverage side that you should maybe be 3 to 4 months of planning?
We've typically been like 60 to 90 days, but again, like this morning we were talking about stuff that's 4 months out, so 120 days. Again, it just depends on if you're what is the focus of your LTO, right? Is it going to be tied to a movie? Is it going to be something holiday specific? Is it going to be something that's a more seasonal type of thing? Those are all factors you have to consider when you're kind of timing out how much time you need to execute an LTO.
Yeah.
Is there too little? Does it make sense if you have a smaller theater, whether it be a 1 screen, a 3 screen, a 6 screen, something like that? Does it make sense? Is there a minimum amount on a limited time offering if you're tying it in, say, with a movie or a season? Is it okay to do one item?
Oh yeah, I think doing one item is fine. Again, it's a capacity issue, right? Not everyone has time or the resource to commit to these things all the time. One thing that we've actually had a lot of success with is we don't always have the ability to create brand new items from scratch, but we'll take items off of our existing menu and we'll rename those things. We'll give it a little name spin towards a movie that's coming out, whether it's Fantastic Four or Minecraft or whatever. I think that just even those minimal changes like that kind of um, freshens up your menu and just keeps it top of mind with your guests. Um, so we've had success doing that too, because there's 110, releases that come out in a given, in 2025, which is great. It's been a while since we've been able to talk numbers like that. We always hope for more, but we'll take what we have. It's tough to commit to 110 LTOs for 110 different movies. So you do have to be creative sometimes with that and repurpose some stuff that you might have done or have on the menu already.
Well, and speaking to that, uh, Dante, how important is it to cross-utilize those ingredients if you're going to offer a limited time offering or a special in your menu, um, using some of those same ingredients? Because we talked about that palette layering. How important is it to try to cross-utilize some things?
For an LTO, I think it's less important than for your main menu items. Figuring that I'm going to run out of my LTO within that limited time, I'm not as worried. But if I have something on my main menu, I don't want only one item to be using that, generally speaking, unless it's a real fire item that's gonna just fly off the shelves. When I plan my main menu, that's where I'm looking to cross utilize as many things as I can.
Fantastic. And Dan, I know you do some wonderful things over there at National Amusement. So if there's something here where we're striking a topic where you're like, wait, I have an idea, please don't hesitate, jump right in.
All right.
Um, one of the things that I think about when we look at that limited time offerings or we look at renaming something on the menu, um, does it make sense? Is there a market to say, look, we offer a hamburger, but for this new movie coming out, we're going to put cheese on it and we're going to rename it. Um, does that count? Is that a limited time offering? Marco, is that something that you guys look to do?
Yeah, I think, that's something that we've had a lot of success with. Uh, you know, our guests, our typical guest, right, is not coming in, every single week. So I think it does give us a chance to, on a limited time basis, highlight different parts of our existing menu. I think that can still qualify as an LTO in my book. And you give it a fun name that ties in with the movie, generates a little bit of buzz about it. We've personally been very successful doing that on both the beverage and the food side.
Dan, I think we have a couple of things in the Q&A.
Yeah, we do have a couple things in the Q&A. So how often is there a GWP associated with an LTO? And forgive me if I don't know what a GWP is.
I believe Deanna means a gift with purchase.
Gift with purchase, yes.
Yeah,
There
I
you
think
go.
so.
Deanna, can you confirm that in the chat maybe?
Yeah, I think she
But
does.
I'll be writing that one down. Thank you.
all those marketing terms all of us F&B people don't know.
Yeah,
Great.
I actually had to chat GBT that when I saw it come in. I'm not going to lie.
yeah. Okay, good.
I just wrapped my head around the difference between FEC and CEC, so I get it.
I would say gift with purchase, at least for our chain, is something that is very important that we've been talking about more recent in meetings as recent as this week, that we're going to look to start increasing again, up to or even more than our pre-COVID numbers, because I think something happened during COVID where a lot of us weren't doing it, and now we're 4 or 5 years out of COVID at this point, and so it's time we get back to doing what we all did best, and I think GWPs will be part of that we'll see more and more of.
And Deanna just texted me and she said that it is, yes, gift with purchase.
So in tying to that, does that affect going back to when you start looking at these? Like, are you connecting with the guys over at Snap or girls, sorry, Kim, and working with the people at Snap to go, look, we want to do this gift with GWP. or we want to offer this particular menu item in this vessel, does that start to move that back? Does that adjust when you start talking to people about these?
Yeah, and I think your best way to go is the people you purchase from the most. Whether it's, Snap, Ferraro, somebody, you're looking for these things, plenty of them are willing to help you out and make deals. They want to move their stuff, they want to advertise their stuff. And it can be as little as maybe a movie's passed, but they have something at discount. You can buy at a deep discount, and then it's just a giveaway add-on that guests will enjoy.
So another question in the chat here: how important is the tie-in to the success of an LTO versus the item itself? Can you overperform with an item just because it's a big movie, or underperform with an item because the movie bombs?
Well, I'll take that one first. I would say, yeah, that's super important. Our strategy has been typically, like, we like to focus our LTOs, where we do them from scratch and really put a big marketing push behind it. We actually tend to focus on the bigger movies because we know that's where the attendance will be, right? More attendance, we can sell more of the food and beverage. We tend to do more of the rebranding, renaming of stuff for all the other releases mid-tier, where we still want to we want to put some effort and some marketing behind those movies with food and beverage. But it makes more sense for us to tie into the bigger ones. I've said this in the past, we can have a great cocktail program. We can have a great kitchen food program, but that's not necessarily what's going to get people through the doors first, right? It's got to be the movie that gets people in first, and then we'll do our jobs as the operators to sell the food and beverage. So the LTOs are a great way when you can tie them with the movie to market a movie, to bring people in, and then that's where we do our job and sell the food and the beverage. That can be tied to the movie itself as well.
One of the lessons we learned was with the cocktail program was to make sure that if you're going to offer two cocktails for a particular movie, you have two different alcohols. During the Barbie phenomenon, we both of our cocktails were vodka based, and we had some theaters running out of vodka by the end of the weekend. But if we'd have done one rum and one vodka, we probably wouldn't have run out. So
Sure. Well, and it's different taste profiles, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody's a vodka drinker, not everybody's a rum drinker. So you kind of expand that customer base by offering different types of spirits.
Right. Another question is also offer non-alcohol. So I'm thinking mocktails are very popular at our locations. We're doing them at all our dining locations, and I think it's becoming definitely trendy.
Yeah, we partnered with Blind Tiger, who makes some great canned mocktails out of Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, I believe. And find somebody who works well with you, find the items you want. But yeah, that NA market is there. Might as well make money off of them.
We talked about that trend down in drinking with the new generation coming up, and that is certainly there, where they will go out and they will have that, maybe that signature cocktail for the first one, but that second one they don't want an alcohol with it. And I think it is important to have that. I know we're probably gonna have to wrap up fairly soon, but one of the last things I wanted to kind of bring up here is to both of you and to Marco first. How often do you want to change the menu? We've talked about if we get those menu items that don't sell, when do you let them go? How do you evaluate that?
So we're talking just the menu in general now at this point, like your core menu that you
Well,
serve.
right, let's look at that core menu exactly, because those limited time offerings essentially just go away, right? Like
Right.
those will eventually just go.
Yeah. So I would say in that case, minimally once a year, twice a year if you can swing it. And I say that because updating your menu is a great exercise to review the data, right? It's menu engineering. So you pull up your product mix, you pull up your COGS, you see what sells, what doesn't, and then more than that, you see what are the profitable items and what aren't the profitable items. I think it's super important to to do that exercise and understand what resonates with your guests and what doesn't, because that'll better inform the decisions you do make once you ultimately decide to update your menu, right? And that's when you can review, whether LTO items graduate from an LTO to a permanent item or not. You can decide what items that are on your core menu come off or get a tweak, whether it's recipe or price or name or other. And then it gives you a chance to also jump on any trends that you've noticed over the course of the year that you'd like to now incorporate into your menu to keep it current and up to date.
So how much data do you like to accumulate on an item before you decide um, that's the term is dog, right? Like that's a
The
dog.
dog, yeah.
It's time to let that dog go. When do you look at that?
Well, so for most items, I guess we've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had anything where we've had to like reprint menus and take something off like that fast. So, we can wait until the semi-annual, twice a year kind of cadence that we do. But if you can swing it, I would say at least give things kind of a 90-day runway so that you can see how it performs. I think that gives the item a chance to stand on its own and you can see how it performs. But if you really believe something's not going to be able to work for whatever reason, you believed in it at the beginning, but it's just not resonating with the guest. Again, whether it's a tweak, a name change, a price adjustment, evaluate that first. But if it really just needs to come off the menu, I wouldn't waste any time in pulling it off if you have to.
Just rip the Band-Aid off.
Hmm.
Dante, is that the way that you guys kind of do it on your end over there too? Is there a time frame that you look at of when you're changing menus or when you're pulling something?
Yeah, so quarter 4 of a calendar year is my research and development quarter. Ideally, it bleeds into quarter 1 as well. So I change my menus in that time period going into quarter 1 with full launch by quarter 2, hopefully, so that we can do a small build up right before we get hit with that summer season and then go through the rest of the year. So one thing I'd say is don't be afraid to tell, your suppliers, talk to me about it in 6 months. I can't talk about this stuff right now because they seem to like to talk about stuff at the beginning of summer or spring, end of spring, and it's like I'm already past that. We can talk about this stuff, but it's going to be in September, October, and then it's going to take me time to see if I want to implement it or not. But I also agree 100% with Marco on the 90-day period, and cutting items. I still swear that our best pizza recipe we've had since I've been with the company ended up being our worst seller. And it was so delicious, but people just didn't buy it. And I just don't get it. So we ended up cutting that, less than a year after it launched, even with a decent marketing campaign behind it. Gotta say bye, no matter how much you love the child.
So more than 40% of our sales happen on our app, live in the theater. So we'll put items on the app before we actually put them on the menu. And this way we're not actually printing anything. We'll see how it performs. And then as we see that hey, this is going to be a permanent item, now the next time we reprint menus, it goes on the menu.
So I will say, as a group, as collectively, we have 3 really big names on this panel. And I think that we could probably agree that one of the things that I tend to look at that I kind of get a little bit jealous about when I see the smaller operators is they have such a better ability to turn on a dime. They can make changes so much easier. They can decide that's not working, I'll pull it. And they can, and they have a little bit of that flexibility. So we talk about these timelines, these are guidelines. Let's not make any mistake about that. If you see something sooner and you have the ability and you see that it's not working, pull it. Subsequently, if you see on an LTO that it is working and it is fantastic, don't be afraid to make that transition to your menu and keep it. And once again, listen to what your community is telling you.
And do market research. Just because a theater doesn't do what you're doing, if there's a popular dish in your general area of operation that sells everywhere, you might as well try to serve something similar, flavors similar to that in some way, because most likely that crowd's going to buy that from you, even if the AMC or Imagine doesn't offer that. It might be that you're small enough to be able to get away with something like that.
Mhm.
I certainly appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you. I think that this was a wonderful piece. If anybody does have any last little minute questions, I certainly would get those in now if you'd like to ask anything. I will say this too, we're going to be emailing this out. But reach out. If you have questions, if there's somebody that you wanted to talk to, if you have my email address and you wanted to ask Marco a question but don't have, reach out. I will make sure that you get in contact with any of these people. We all know, right? High tide rise all boats. We want all theaters to do well. When theaters do well, we all do well.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Looks like no other questions have come in, and thank you, and we'll see you at CinemaCon. I think that's our next time.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.